Maplewood, a small town, lush green meadows, white picket fences, children played freely, laughter echoed in the warm summer air, life moved at a slower pace. Neighbors knew each other, doors were left unlocked, it was a picture of tranquility. The heart of Maplewood was its annual summer festival, a time for joy, laughter and shared memories. It was an event that brought the community together. This year, a new edition promised to make it even more special, the Carnival, a kaleidoscope of bright colors and twinkling lights. But beneath the merriment, a darkness stirred. Lurking amidst the joy was an entity of pure evil, a being that fed on fear, disguised behind a mask of painted smiles. It was the clown. The carnival set up shop at the edge of town, a riot of color against the fading light. The Ferris wheel silhouette clawed at the twilight sky, the sweet smell of popcorn and cotton candy wafted through the air. Excitement buzzed, especially among the teenagers. Among them were Sarah and David, childhood sweethearts. They were drawn to the carnival's allure, yet they couldn't shake off a creeping sense of unease. Their eyes fell upon him, the clown. His face was a mask of white paint, a grotesque grin stretched across it. His eyes, two dark pits, seemed to follow their every move. David squeezed her hand, but his gaze remained fixed on the clown. There was something about him, something deeply unsettling. The carnival came alive at night, lights blazed, music pulsed, laughter and screams intermingled, creating a cacophony of sound. But in the shadows something sinister stirred. The laughter seemed to hold a new edge, a mocking tone. The clown's presence was inescapable. He seemed to be everywhere, his laughter echoing through the crowds. Each glimpse sent shivers down their spines. They decided to leave, their youthful excitement replaced by a gnawing dread. The clown had set his sights on Maplewood, and his macabre show was just beginning. The following morning, a chill settled over Maplewood. It wasn't the morning mist, it was fear. Little Timmy, the boy who had been given the red balloon by the clown, was gone. Vanished. His bed was empty, his parents frantic. The townsfolk, their faces etched with worry, gathered in the town square. Whispers rippled through the crowd, the carnival, the clown, the red balloon. The festive mood from the previous day had evaporated, replaced by a palpable sense of dread. Sheriff Miller, a man hardened by years of service but with a heart that still held onto the innocence of Maplewood, tried to calm the crowd. He promised a thorough investigation. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been sown. He had seen the clown. He had felt the chill. He knew in his gut that something was terribly wrong. The disappearance of a child. A red balloon, found floating ominously in the park. These were not mere coincidences. They were breadcrumbs leading to a terrifying truth that Maplewood was far from ready to face. The carnival, once a symbol of joy, was now a looming shadow of fear. Fears gripped red balloons and whispers. The disappearance of Timmy cast a pall over Maplewood. The laughter of children was replaced by hushed whispers. The once vibrant streets were now eerily quiet. The red balloons, once symbols of childhood joy, became harbingers of fear. Parents clutched their children close, their eyes darting around nervously. The carnival continued its macabre business. The music played on, but it sounded distorted, sinister. The lights seemed to flicker more ominously. And the clown, he was everywhere. His painted smile seemed wider, more menacing. His eyes glinted with a dark amusement. The disappearances continued. A young girl lured away from her house by the promise of candy. A group of teenagers last seen heading towards the carnival's haunted house, their laughter swallowed by the night. Each disappearance was accompanied by a single red balloon found floating in the victim's wake. The town was gripped by terror. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. The clown was responsible. He was stealing their children, dragging them into the darkness. But who would believe them? Who could stop him? Fear, like a virus, spread through the town, leaving behind a trail of shattered innocence and despair. The lawman stand Sheriff Miller investigates. Sheriff Miller, his face etched with worry, paced his office. The weight of the town's fear pressed down on him. He had questioned the carnival folk, each one evasive, each one with eyes that held a hidden knowledge. But no concrete evidence, nothing he could pin on them. He stared at the evidence board, pictures of the missing children, maps of the carnival grounds, and the red balloons, always the red balloons. A knot of frustration tightened in his gut. He had to do something. He had to protect his town. The carnival was set to leave in a few days. He knew, with a sinking feeling, that if he didn't act now, more children would disappear. He would confront the clown. He would look into those cold, dead eyes and demand answers. He was the law in Maplewood, and he would not let evil win. A chilling encounter, the clown's menacing gaze. The night was moonless, the air heavy with the threat of a storm. Sheriff Miller, his hand resting on his holster, walked towards the carnival. The music grated on his nerves, each note a mocking laugh. He spotted him by the Ferris wheel, the clown. He stood there, a grotesque silhouette against the backdrop of flashing lights. In his hand he held a single red balloon. The sheriff's heart pounded in his chest. He had faced down criminals before, but there was something different about the clown, something inhuman, something evil. "We need to talk," Sheriff Miller said, his voice firm despite the tremor in his chest. The clown turned, his painted smile widening. It wasn't a smile of amusement, it was a smile of malice. "About what?" the clown asked, his voice a high-pitched, grating sound. "The missing children," the sheriff said, his hand tightening around his holster. "I believe you know something about them." Darkness descends. The sheriff vanishes. The clown's grin widened, stretching impossibly across his white-painted face. "Me? Why, Sheriff, you wound me. I'm just a simple clown, here to bring joy and laughter." His voice dripped with a sickening sweetness that sent chills down the sheriff's spine. "Cut the act!" the sheriff growled, his patience wearing thin. "Where are the children?" The clown tilted his head, his eyes two black pits in his painted face, boring into the sheriff's. "You really want to know?" he whispered, his voice barely audible above the rising wind. Before the sheriff could react, the clown lunged. The last thing the sheriff saw was the clown's grotesque grin, teeth bared in a mockery of mirth, before darkness swallowed him whole. The storm broke, rain lashing down, washing away any trace of the struggle. When the townsfolk arrived, drawn by the commotion, they found only the sheriff's hat, lying amidst a scattering of red balloons. The nightmare lingers, a town paralyzed. Dawn broke over Maplewood, but the sun brought no warmth, no comfort. The carnival was gone, vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a muddy field and a lingering sense of dread. Sheriff Miller was gone too, another victim claimed by the darkness that had descended upon their town. Fear, raw and consuming, gripped the town. The adults whispered in hushed tones, their faces etched with a mixture of grief and terror. The children, their innocence shattered, no longer laughed. The red balloons, once symbols of joy, were now haunting reminders of the evil that had visited their town. Maplewood, once a picture of tranquility, was now a shell of its former self. The disappearance of their children, the vanishing of their sheriff, had left an indelible scar on their collective psyche. The nightmare was over, for now. But the fear lingered, a suffocating presence that permeated every aspect of their lives. Red balloons in the wind, a haunting reminder. Life in Maplewood went on, but it was a pale imitation of its former self. The summer festival was cancelled, the joy it once represented now tainted with the memory of unspeakable horrors. Parents kept a watchful eye on their children, never letting them out of sight. The red balloons became objects of fear and revulsion. Parents would quickly dispose of any they found, their hearts clenching at the sight of the once innocuous toys. The wind would sometimes carry stray balloons through the town, each one a chilling reminder of the terror that had gripped them. The disappearance of Sheriff Miller and the children remained unsolved. The authorities conducted a thorough investigation, but the carnival and the clown had vanished without a trace. Some whispered that it was all just a bad dream, a collective hallucination brought on by the summer heat. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. Evil had visited Maplewood, and it had left its mark. The glimmer of evil, he'll be back. Years passed. The memory of that summer faded, but the scar remained. Maplewood slowly began to heal, but the laughter of children never quite reached the same pitch, and the shadows seemed to hold a new darkness. The fear, though dulled by time, lingered beneath the surface, ready to resurface at the slightest provocation. And then, one crisp autumn day, a red balloon appeared, tied to the gate of the abandoned carnival field, swaying gently in the breeze. No one claimed it, no one dared to touch it. It stood there, a silent, menacing beacon, a chilling reminder that evil never truly dies. It merely waits, biding its time, until it can once again unleash its terror upon the world. The clown was out there, somewhere, watching, waiting, and Maplewood, forever scarred by his presence, would forever live in the shadow of his return, for they knew in the deepest recesses of their hearts that he would be back.